Dreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, welcome to the program. This is episode number 5. And before we get into it with our guest, Sean Jacklin, have some news to report, and it's good news. The podcast is growing enormously. So I have some numbers I can share with you in the past week alone. We are now up to, with the combination of Christian Bartolacci, who was our first guest, and then Kyle Rhodes, and then Andrew McCabe, who's the founder of Party, and Jordan Miller. Last week, we've had over 2,000 views. So when we started the podcast, and I told you at the beginning, this was really like a marketing tool for Party drinks, a good alternative to beer and some of the seltzers that you're having at different places. We wanted to start small with an audience that we knew would want to hear from the people that we wanted to talk to, people like us, golfers, true golfers. And it's really taken off. And I appreciate everybody for doing that. I appreciate our guests recommending to the friends and family to do this. And so let's just keep it going, because that's the bottom line. And the bottom line is we still need help. You can help us by liking the podcast and also subscribing to it, because the dorks that handle the analytics at YouTube and other listening places, they like to know that. And they reward us in different ways so we can keep it going. Big thanks to Party Drinks for a list of the places where you can purchase it, where it is sold at golf courses and different mini marts around the Suncoast area. Check out our website, drinkparty.com. And a big thanks to our real estate golf pros, Gene Walsh and Vince Vizzacaro from Fine Properties. If it is your dream to live on a golf course or in a golf community, or you already do and you want to sell your house, they are the perfect team for you. You can find them at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000. Okay, that's the preamble. Let's get into it with our guest, Sean Jacklin. Sean, thanks for bearing with me as I had to take care of the housekeeping stuff.
It's really good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you're on the program, because you've been recommended by a couple people, but I knew all along when we created the podcast you'd be a good guest, because you have a playing pedigree, you have a perspective on a lot of things, and so I'm glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
Let me take you back to the beginning. Where did it all start? Where does your golf story begin?
Well, I was born into golf, really. I didn't have much of a choice in that regard. I was born in Scotland, and my dad was 49 when we moved to Palm Beach, and I was only 2.5. And I started chasing him around on the senior tour, and I kind of grew up out there in between school and whatnot. But, I spent a lot of my early life on that senior tour, and I got a really good idea of what it's all about at a very young age. So I would say my whole life has been, a golf apprenticeship, if you will.
Yeah. Was there anybody in particular on the tour that took a liking to you or helped you out?
I mean, I called half of them uncle. With Gary Player, Lee Trevino. I mean, they were all out on the senior tour when my dad, turned 50. So the real characters of the game, which we're lacking now, they were there. So I value that all as a great experience, because those stories that they had from their era, they were the pioneers and our sport and making it popular, and they were the first guys on TV, really, 16, 17 and 18. Arnold Palmer lights his cigarette, and in the old days that's what it was all about. It was about putting on a show, and they still did that on the senior tour. So it was a privilege to get to witness all that, even at a young age.
That's so cool. I heard a podcast with Lee Trevino. He's 84 now, and he just had, I couldn't believe his recall for detail. He had story after story after
It's unreal.
And he just enjoyed telling stories about stuff.
Yeah.
And so I've caddied for you twice when Spencer Cole was in town, one of your old buddies, and West Florida Golf Tour alum.
Oh, yeah.
And there were a lot of stories going back and forth. I think you were telling most of them. Do you think your love of story is really just rooted in just hearing the stories of Lee Trevino, Gary Player, and everybody else that was around?
Well, I'm a passionate guy, especially when I'm interested in whatever we're talking about. So golf is number one on that list. But yeah, I think that I have a unique perspective, just because I'm a young guy that got to experience the older generation, and a kind of a window into that, and just the differences between being in the modern game and trying to be successful myself, but also trying to kind of maybe marry the concepts that they had, with some of the new stuff today. So I would just say I'm passionate. So I get going with the golf stories, and when I'm around good people that I have those in common with, it's easy to talk about.
Yeah. Do you have any good stories from the West Florida Golf Tour, or just playing the mini tours? Because when I talked about perspective at the beginning, I know that you said, look, it's not everybody gets it, like how tough of a grind it can be. Why don't you take me on the inside of that?
Yeah. I mean, I think that mini tour golf has, I won't say evolved, because it's kind of died since I turned pro. The creation of the Latin America tour and the Canada and the PGA Tour China, it kind of the tour spreading their umbrella that wide. It makes everyone obviously want to be a part of that. So all the new fresh college kids that are coming out and turning pro, they want to be a part of that PGA Tour umbrella. And the Hooters Tour was kind of on its way out when I started. The eGolf Tour was going on, and they were winning $40,000. We're just going to the winner that week, and that's just not really available anymore. So you have to, I think, have funding one way or another in order to give yourself a legit, a real legit shot at, just creating the opportunities that you need to create for yourself. It's not like you can just chime in here and there and expect to get out there, So there's so many guys that, they come from wealthy backgrounds, and they maybe want to just say they're pro golfers and they play mini tour just to waste time until they've got to get a real job. And then there's always the guys that that can play, the guys that usually are at the top of the leaderboard, and the ones that you have to beat. And it's a balancing act. It's keeping yourself competitively ready for what you're trying to accomplish, which is getting to the next level, and also giving yourself the opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to go play this mini tour event that's a couple hours away from this Monday qualifier in another state. How much is that going to cost to go play the mini tour event? What do I have to finish in order to just come out, in the green that week? And then, can I use the rest of the money for the $500 qualifier, 1 in 4 chance of getting in. So, there's always the chance of, getting to that next level by the next qualifier that you have. But, it can be rough, just knowing that, there's not much opportunity to make anything of monetary value when you don't have status. And I think that it's a shame, because you see how much is at the top of the game, that, if it was just spread out a little bit down at the bottom, even on the Latin and Canada tour, I think you'd just see guys at least be able to try to play for longer. I know so many guys that were good players, finished top 15 on the Latin money list and had to quit. They couldn't afford the next year. Right. So it's a grind, and you have to have financial backing, people in your corner, I believe, in order to give yourself a realistic shot at getting out there.
Yeah. how did you do it? How are you doing it?
Well, I was very fortunate. My dad hosts the British Par 3 competition in England, and the main sponsor of that, his name is Eric Hurd, and he owns Farm Foods, which is a very large frozen food distribution company in the UK, probably the biggest. A lot of the European guys have Farm Foods on their clothing, Paul Laurie, and a lot of the Scottish guys that are up and coming, and some of the women as well. And my family and his established a great relationship over the years, and he took a liking to me, and he's been supporting me for the last 7-8 years. And I certainly wouldn't have been able to continue on and do all the things that, he allowed me to do by funding me. So that's over now. I'm don't have any sponsorship going into this upcoming year, and got a lot going on at home with 2 little ones. So I'm kind of making some career decisions as we are doing this podcast, looking into, starting to teach and get into the PGA section so that I can continue to compete. And also there's, good avenues to get PGA Tour starts through that. And partially, my reasoning behind that is when you don't have status, there is too much time to not be doing something else other than golf, because like I said, mini tour golf's kind of just dead. And then you're asking yourself, what's the point in driving across the state for a one-day tournament? It's just not going to do anything for your life. And I've been doing it for 10 years now too. So it's not like I'm fresh and bushy-tailed and really looking forward to playing on the mini tours. I've been there, kind of done that. And it's time to compete. And if I'm going to get out there, it's time to get out there. And if I'm not, then it's time to do something else where I can help people. I'm always going to keep a golf club in my hand, but I want to be able to continue to compete. I never want to quit, but financially you've got to make some hard decisions sometimes. And so moving forward, I think that playing on the Latin Tour was a great experience for me, and playing on the mini tours has been awesome. West Florida Tour has been invaluable for me, just because it's a competition in your backyard and you get to sleep in your own bed, keep your expenses low. I mean, really, it's
one of the
on top of sponsors. Sorry?
It's one of the few left.
Absolutely. Yeah. It really is. And, COVID, golf boomed through COVID, and then all these clubs, they get full membership and they don't need us. They don't need pro golf tournaments to be hosted for one day at their course when they're, booked full of tee times. So I would say that the state of the game is just up in the air right now with everything, whether it's mini tour golf, and then obviously at the highest level on the PGA Tour and the Live and all that's going on with that. So it's difficult without status right now. That's just the bottom line.
That was a thoughtful answer and really honest. Let me follow up if I can. Is there any deadline that you've placed on yourself? Like, I'm going to do it for this much longer based on family responsibilities, financials?
Not really. I mean, now it's to the point with 2 kids, it's like I did for a long time, I was keeping my head above water without kids, but with the state of mini tour golf and having 2, it's just impossible to, if that's the only thing you're relying on, monetarily, that's, it's just a non-starter. So really, what I'm doing is a means to keep playing, and I have no interest in doing anything else. I love helping people. I love giving lessons and teaching. So I'm doing what I need to do in that area. And, hopefully I can get somewhere that gives me, the freedom to keep competing and continue chasing my dreams through that avenue. Which when I look at kind of the options, that seems like it's the most fitting. So,
when did you know you were good and you thought like, hey, I want to compete. I want to play.
Yeah. So I was fortunate with my dad. A lot of people, they assume or they ask, was your dad pushing golf onto you because he was a golfer? And he was the opposite. He wanted me to try everything and, pick for myself. And, I did that. I played baseball, little league, and I played soccer, and, I was trying different things, but golf was always the constant. And, they had like the Future Masters and all these events that were kind of like mimicking, the PGA Tour and the majors and all that, even when we were like 8, 9, 10 years old. And I started going to those in the summer. And, it was early on. I was 10, 11. And, you got to imagine also, like, I'm traveling on the senior tour with my dad. I know all the greats of the game, but then I'm also watching Tiger Woods every weekend. 2000 is really, I'm 8 years old, 9 years old in 2000, and Tiger's on the scene. And I mean, you don't need much more inspiration than that. So, he was making golf really cool. And I was, surrounded by golf already. So I just went with it, and, junior golf in Florida was a great option. And I would travel around the state in the summers and eventually, doing the golf team thing. And so, I mean, I knew I could play when I was pretty young. I mean, 12, 13, you start realizing, okay, like, there's nothing wrong with me, so why can't I be good at this game too, kind of thing. So, it was early. And then, you start having a little bit of success here and there and little things and high school golf, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, you're looking at your world junior ranking, and you're, looking at what you need to do to get recruited to go to school. And so that's what I did. And, I didn't really question it. I just figured like, that's what I'm going to do. And, I went about and did it.
So you ended up at UNC, University of North Carolina, which it has to be the best college town in America.
It's unbelievable campus and, beautiful spot. No complaints on my end.
Can I assume that you've been to Timeout Chicken at 2:00 in the morning?
You can assume, right? Yeah, I've definitely been there. And Granville Towers, which is where all the freshman athletes have to live, because obviously as a golfer you need your car. It's not like the golf course is on campus, so they put us all in Granville Towers, and Timeout was right there. So I hit that place up many a time.
I was there. My brother went to graduate school at UNC, and there are a couple of establishments right across the street. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And so we ended up in there at 2 a.m. and ended up singing the Eagles fight song. And some other Philly clown joined us in, and the employees in there were just looking at it like, "Who are you people? Get out!" I mean, so it was probably a normal night there. I mean, of course you would do such a thing, right?
Yeah, that street at 2 a.m. you can run into about every walk of life there.
Hey, take me back to when. So you're around all the games greats. Did you have a favorite player, and did you ditch that favorite player when Tiger came around?
Yeah, I mean, I was so young when you start having those thoughts of who your favorite player is. Tiger was already kind of it in there. Obviously, we lived in the Nicholas's guest house for the first 3 months while we were looking for a house in Palm Beach. And, my dad and him built the concession together, and their relationship has been great for so long, longer than I've been around. So, Jack and just the way he carries himself and the way he can listen to you in a room full of people when he's the most important one there, and he makes you feel important. I would just say you kind of admire the character of those guys, especially when they're that much older. Like, I already categorize them as the senior tour guys. I would call them the old farts, to their faces, so Tiger, I think, as far as, but as far as like my own development too, my dad would tell me, pick guys that you like and try to marry those attributes with your own, and it's like Ernie's rhythm, obviously VJ's rhythm, Freddie Couples' rhythm. You're just not going to beat those guys in that. And then, Tiger's positioning and just how athletic and good he looked, it was just plucking different things from, Adam Scott, obviously perfect golf swing. It's like, what can you pick from their swings and how can you apply it to yours? So yeah, I would say, I guess from the older generation, maybe, even before Jack and Hogan, like his lag and just his story about how it was later in life for him where he got his real success, especially in relation to the majors, because he just couldn't even play a full schedule after his car accident. So, that's the other thing. Earlier you asked about if there's a timetable. I mean, you look at Eric Cole, he's 35 and, he's already top 30 in the world in 1 year of basically being out there. And, I beat him in a playoff at PGA National 2 years ago. And then following year, he's in a playoff for the Honda Classic. So, I don't doubt my ability. You just have to keep believing that your time is going to come. So there's so many stories out there of guys and their success. And when they had it, the media likes to focus on the youngest upcoming studs, and that's fine. But, there's plenty of guys that have had great careers later in life. So I like to look at those people and try to, see the similarities and how I can make myself one of those stories too.
Yeah, be a late bloomer. Well, you take good care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it. So,
yeah.
Well, what's your career low? Competitively or socially, what's the lowest you ever shot?
I've shot 10 under a couple of times, 62 in West Florida, actually. And that's shot 61 at the Bradenton Country Club, which is the course record still. But that's a par 71. So 10 under is my low. I've done it, I think, 3 times. And haven't gotten to 59 yet, but still cracking for that one.
Yeah. When you get, walk me through the mindset when like a round that you've had that's hot. Are you doing math in your head or you're just lost in the shot to shot?
Definitely enter a different zone that I would love to be able to enter in every time I tee it up.
Right. Bottle it and just
I think when I'm playing that well, everything becomes an assumption, and that can be terrible if you're not playing how you want to. But when you're playing so well, I just view it as like, if I'm already 4, 5, 6 under through 10 holes, like I'm already so many under, why not just make a few more birdies kind of thing. I've been good at going low throughout my mini tours and whatnot. And I think that it's just most people get a little bit scared of what they might shoot, then they run ahead. And
why is that? That's me. It drives me.
Well, I think it's human nature, right? My dad always told me when I was growing up, I don't care what you do Friday, Saturday, but on Sunday, I want you to come and watch the last 4 holes of these PGA Tour events with me, because it's always the human stuff that gets in the way. And, people can hear that and they don't really register what he means by that. But, he told me when he was about to win the British Open in '69 that he was walking off the tee on 14. And he said to himself, I wonder if I'll be holding the claret jug in an hour. And he said he physically slapped himself and had to ground himself so much. And it was so hard to get back to the moment that he was saying, this is my left foot. I'm putting it in front of my right foot. This is my hand. I have 5 fingers. Like his mind was trying to race ahead, right? To, oh my God, what am I about to do? I'm about to win the British Open, but you've still got 4 holes left to play. And that's the age old, challenge that everybody faces every week. They know where they're at when they're out standing on 14, with a 1-shot lead or whatever the situation is. But it's always the human elements that get in the way. When you get excited, you rush ahead. And when you're about to win a golf tournament, you're certainly excited. So I think that, having that perspective or that knowledge of it doesn't mean you're not going to do it. You've seen great players just fail sometimes and not get the win and then come back and get the win. But yeah, I think that in my view, it's like, those are the days you get off. You're not dealing with the day-to-day stuff in golf of just going out and trying to break par and, put a good round together. It's like when you're hot on a day and all that stuff's kind of taking care of itself, like you're just trying to go as low as you can go and make birdies. Really. That's all I try to do when I'm playing well. I have a lot longer list of things that I try to do when I'm not playing well. And I think that's part of the issue maybe, but it's just easier when you're playing well. So you just think less about stuff. And
I know. You stay athletic. I drive myself crazy, but I know I'm not the only one. Your relationship with your dad, being the son of a famous person, I'm sure has benefits. Are there any downsides to it or challenges that maybe people don't know?
I think maybe with just opinions of, assuming that things are a certain way just because, you have a famous father and in golf or whatever it is, just the assumptions that maybe people make that might just not be true at all. And then I think maybe the other thing would be, just in relation to maybe getting helped out, even just from getting to play at a course, for not a full membership fee or whatever. People might just assume, oh, that's Tony Jacklin's kid. I'm sure he's fine. He's out somewhere. But it's like, no, I'm not out anywhere. I don't have a membership anywhere, so I think that people just assume that sometimes you're in a much better situation than you might really be in. But other than that, I mean, it's been nothing but good stuff. And the age old question for me with the famous is it been more difficult or what have you? And it's like, if you're going to get to where I want to be, and you're worried about being nervous because you're someone's son, you're never going to get to where you want to be, because the nerves and pressures of major championship golf or doing great things in golf far outweighs who your dad is. So I kind of put that to bed a long time ago. That's nothing I really think about, especially when I'm out on the golf course.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever hate the game, Sean?
Well, the game will break you if you let it, right? So I just try to stick my middle finger up at it, and I'll just keep coming back tomorrow. Like, you're not going to be crazier than me, type of thing. Like, I'm not going to. You get endlessly frustrated, but it's like you can't not smile at the end of the day and say that's why we do it. That's like, I know today sucked and today was agony for you, but like, if it wasn't that way, it certainly wouldn't have the emotional response that we get when we get high on it and when we get low on it. We just when you get the bug, that's why it's in the greatest game. It's a game for life, and it mimics life in so many ways. So I could never hate the game. It's afforded me so much. It's been my whole existence in life. So as frustrating as it is, no, I couldn't hate the game.
I think you speak for a lot of people on that. It carves you out, but that just creates more room for joy when it rushes in. And I think that's a good way to end it. Really enjoyed the conversation, Sean.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
And I wish you a lot of success, and let's keep in touch. You cool with that?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sean. Yeah, absolutely.
Sean Jacklin, our guest here. Big thanks to Party Drinks. For a list of the different places where it is available for your purchase. Log on to There I am, back on here. For a list of the different places that you can purchase Party Drinks, log on to our website at drinkparty.com. And a big thanks to the Dream Team Real Estate Team. If your dream is to own a house in a golf community, or you want to sell a house, get in touch with Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro at suncoastdreams.com. That's a part of Fine Properties. And you can also call them at 941-220-4000. For Sean Jacklin, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on Party Time, chasing it on the West Florida Golf Tour.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.
This is Vince Visicaro and Gene Walsh with the SuncoastDreams.com real estate team at Fine Properties. We've helped hundreds of families find their dream homes in golf and resort communities in Lakewood Ranch, Bradenton, Sarasota, Parrish, Venice, and the surrounding areas.
Let us be your guides to finding your dream home here as well. Learn more at suncoastdreams.com or call us at 941-220-4000.